I get that social media has its negative effects on people, but I don't take that stance that social media is rotting these kids' brains. Like,
Right.
well, sure, but what are you doing to help? Like, I don't want to just be a person of problem. I want to be a person of solution. Like, if they're going to have these devices in their hands, which we will, like we talked about, what is my role? What can I do rather than just saying everything is fire and brimstone and everything's going to shambles?
Right.
How can I be part of the solution? I think that there's so much information constantly being downloaded into people. And so my vision is to, my hope, my vision, my dreams are to literally just be a sister and a friend and a light to the youth.
People try to put us to down. Talking about my generation.
Hard is the new fun.
Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
My generation.
Welcome to the TLT Movement Podcast, a podcast for tomorrow's leaders today. In this episode, we have Miss Trysten.
Hi, guys.
One of our mentors from TLT Conference 2024, or 2023 and 2022, right?
Yes.
So
2022 was my first one, and then 2023 was this past year, and it was so good. So yeah, 2 years.
Nice. So only 2 years.
Yes, 2 years, and then I'm planning on having it be part of my future endeavors.
All
but
right.
yes, 2 years so far.
Why? Do you feel like you want to keep on coming back?
Yeah, so I believe so much that TLT is so powerful. I think that there is so much breakthrough, and what I've come to find through TLT, even with all these children that I've come to mentor at this point, it's been multiple younger kids that I've been getting to pour into and walk along with their life. And all I seem to find is that all of these parents end up being broken. And it's like, oh, how could these parents abuse their kids? Or how could this happen? How could this teacher treat me this way? Why would they say they don't believe in me? And then that sticks with me. All these things in adults that we see. But these adults are really just older, broken children.
Sure.
So they're grown up and then they're treating kids just in a way that like was operated from when they were unhealed. And so if we get to talk with these children and get to work through unforgiveness, work through resentment, work through bitterness, then they're already getting to be the best version of themselves when they get to be an adult so that they can pour into their children in a healthy way and not grow up with all this brokenness that they can leave at the age of 12.
That is very well put. I like to call it the ripple effect.
Yes.
Because we will never, ever see the impact truly that we make completely
That's so good.
the next generations to come.
Right.
And so what got you involved in this work? Like, how did you meet TLT? Did you go through a program similar or?
Yeah.
Or what?
So I think for me, I always wanted someone in my life growing up that was like a mentor to me. Like I had a hard life growing up too. Like there were things that I went through, and even just call it elementary school, call it middle school, even especially high school. But I would go through things, and I always looked up to people who were older than me. And just always wanted someone that would be like, let me take you to coffee. Like someone who is older that in a sense like chose me. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I just want to pour into her. Like I just love her. And I just didn't really find that, but I didn't really look for it. Like when you're a kid, you're too intimidated to really walk up to someone and put yourself out there.
Sure.
So I was wanting to be the one to be approached. And I just didn't find that. Like no one ever did that. And anyways, come to become a Christian. I grew up Jewish. And when I became a Christian, I had all these mentors from youth group, all these youth leaders that wanted to just get to know me for the sake of loving me and being like Jesus to me. And then I just kind of vowed in my heart, like, Jesus, I am going to be the person that I was always looking for. Like if I can't find that in someone else being that for me, then at least I'll get to be that for someone else. And TLT specifically, there were 2 people on the board, Isaac and Val Hosa. And she just knows me. She knows my heart. She knows my walk. We've grown up. Isaac specifically, we've grown up together. And so that whole change from Judaism to Christianity is how he saw the fruit of my life begin to change. And when that happened, he was just like, you would be an amazing mentor for all of these children. Like this is the mission. This is what TLT does. This is how they pour into them. And you would just be a great person to look up to as a role model, which is super humbling because I never feel like I have it all together, but I do love Jesus and he has it all together and the Spirit is in me. So He can reach the people for sure. But that's how I got involved. They asked me to be a mentor and I loved it. So I said yes.
Nice. Well, the little bit that I know you definitely are a really great candidate for mentorship, and I'm glad to have you a part of all of this, and I'm sure your girls are also happy to have you as
Thank you. I love them.
mentor.
I really do.
Yeah.
I text them all the time and I'm just like, I'm coming to see you. What are you doing? I'm picking you up and we're getting lunch on me. Like, I love to pour into these girls because I believe in them so much, so much. So thank you.
That's awesome. So let's get into the fact that you were Jewish and now you're Christian. I mean, it's not that you're not Jewish anymore.
No, I just like dropped that in there. Like, by the way, I was Jewish and it's like, wait, what? Like, let's talk about that.
So
But
you were like full on Jew, bat mitzvah,
yes.
Jew girl.
Jewish woman.
Pardon me.
Jewish,
I'm
don't
still
even know.
figuring out the words, the slang.
But yes, Jew girl. That was funny.
So you were Jewish, which is, for our audience, if you don't know too much about all this, it's a religion, but it's also an ethnicity.
Yes.
So you're ethnically Jewish.
Yes.
You were religiously Jewish as well.
A little bit.
Okay, so not Orthodox or anything?
No, but my cousins are. So my
Okay.
mom's sister, they're Orthodox. They keep kosher. They are like very all like keep the Sabbath. So very into like keeping all of that. But for us, it was more secular Judaism. Like,
Okay.
oh, we're Jewish because her mom was Jewish. My mom's mom was Jewish and her mom's mom was Jewish and all the moms are Jewish. So apparently I'm Jewish. but I got bat mitzvahed. I have triplet brothers. And so they all got bar mitzvahed.
At the same time?
Yeah.
Yo, that must have been a
It was
crazy
wild. It was
party.
fun. It was fun for sure. But so yeah, we did all those things. We did Shabbat every now and again. We
Okay.
did the high holidays, but yeah, it was really just culturally Jewish.
Okay, so it wasn't really a part of your faith. Like you weren't really studying the Torah
No.
and believed in Yahweh, El Shaddai.
No, but I did know a little bit of Hebrew. I know one
Okay.
Hebrew sentence, if that contributes
lay it
to
on
the
me.
conversation in any sort of way. Ani rotzah glida.
What does that mean?
Do you want to guess? One sentence.
Say it again. Say it again.
Ani rotzah glida.
Does it mean, do you want to come to my bat mitzvah?
No.
Oh. What's it mean?
I want ice cream.
Oh my gosh.
That was what I felt was beneficial to learn. So I learned that one sentence. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. And now if you're ever in Israel.
So we can end the podcast here because I think that was really beneficial information.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you for joining us
Thank
for
you
this
so much.
episode. You now learned how to say, I want ice cream.
Can you
in
say
Hebrew
it though? Did you learn?
From what you just said? No.
Anyways.
No. Anyway. So, okay. So you were secular Jewish.
Yes.
And then how did you find Christ? Because I assume that for your family, not so much the secular half, but the Orthodox half, coming to Jesus might be a little taboo, right?
Yes. Yeah, that was definitely a big ordeal in the family. For me, to make a long story short, and my testimony is posted, so it can be found, but grew up Jewish, did it all religiously, like just culturally I was Jewish. But then when I was 16, I went to church with a friend because she invited me to sleep over on a Saturday night. She was like, you can sleep over, but I have to go to church on Sunday to watch the babies, so you can either come with me or sleep in the house. And I felt weird if her whole family went to church and I'm just sleeping in her house.
Sure.
So I was like, okay, I'll just go. Like, I'll come with your family. And I went, and it was that first love encounter of meeting Jesus. I just was sobbing. My friend who's like, I don't really think she's even a Christian, honestly, but God will use anyone for his purposes. And she just took out her phone and she was like recording me, like, why are you crying? And I'm like, I don't know. I can't stop crying. And so I was just like so encountered by the love of Jesus. And after that happened, I was like on fire for him. I was asking so many questions. A lot of other things happened through all this process, but kept reading the Bible. And I was totally living for the world, like partying, clubbing, drinking, guys, like just totally living for the world.
So what age was the shift?
16.
16. So before 16, like 15, you were going to clubs and stuff?
Yes. With my fake ID that I don't have or didn't have.
Oh my gosh. At 15.
Yeah.
Wow. That's.
But they were like kind of like ratchety clubs. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm
Oh,
not saying
sure.
like,
Yeah.
well, I don't really
That
know,
makes
but-
it better.
No, it doesn't.
They were like in the
They were
hood.
like,
It's fine.
Like, no.
It was ghetto
It was
clubs.
just ghetto clubs.
It was like in some guy's backyard. I don't know.
Like, whatever. It's with my friends. Anyway, so it wasn't great, but I was just going down a really not great path for my life. And fast forward through it all, God really stepped in, changed my desires of my heart, answered some prayers I was seeking him for. And I just came to really know that I didn't have all the answers of the Bible, but I knew that I encountered his presence and I wanted to know this God that loved me. Like all I knew is there was someone or something bigger than myself that loves me, because I've never felt that way before. And I didn't have all the answers. I didn't know. I never read the Bible. I didn't know anything, but I knew he was real. And it just made me want to know everything about him because of the love that I felt. And would read my Bible all the time, like daily in the Word. Didn't want to do anything else with my time because I just wanted to know him. And eventually all of that changed. Fast forward a little bit more. I feel like, let me get more in. My mom kicked me out of the house because she was like, you're not going to be a Christian and live in our Jewish home. So
Really?
Yes.
This was at what age?
This was at, was I 17?
It's
It
like
was
a
going
year
into my
after.
senior, it was summer going into my senior year of high school. So maybe 17 at this point.
Okay.
And she kicked me out. She was like, you're not going to be a Christian and live in our Jewish home. So ended up living with one of my Christian friends, who's still my best friend to this day. Her and her mom took me in. And eventually I would cry and pray out to God for my mom, because I believe heaven is real with every fiber of my being. And that's great because I get to go there because I have a relationship with Jesus. But what about the lost? What about the people who don't know the Lord? What about the people that are like so trapped in their own sin and are like living in this bondage to be set free? But there really isn't a hope for them if they don't have their hope in the Lord.
Right.
So I would cry and pray out to God for my mom all the time. And then eventually, about 2 years later, my mom had an encounter with Jesus and she got saved. And now she's in women's ministry. Her and I are actually currently leading a mother-daughter Bible study together.
Wow,
Like,
that's very cool.
she served with the children. Like, she loves Jesus. And it's just so crazy to hear that she went from kicking me out of the house for believing in Jesus
Right.
to now literally helping me even to like start a podcast talking about Jesus. Like, she loves the Lord with everything. So tell me God can't do the impossible. Now I'm studying ministry, blah, blah, blah. Enough about me. God is just so good.
That is awesome. So yeah, you are in college for ministry.
Yes.
And what are your aspirations with that?
Yeah. So I have a heart to reach the youth, which is exactly why I'm even part of TLT. So I guess this like
Awesome.
world's colliding.
Yeah.
But I love the mission of reaching the youth because we are the future. We are the next generation rising up. And I think that there's so much information constantly being downloaded into people. And so my vision is to, my hope, my vision, my dreams are to literally just be a sister and a friend and a light to the youth, to, I guess, anywhere. Really, it pours into everyone because the parents then are involved because they want to hear what their kids are listening to. So
Sure.
it reaches everyone. But the mission is for somewhere between 12 to 25, some like all of the younger generation, because I think that you're taking in all of this stuff from social media. You're taking things in from TikToks and Instagram and what your friends are saying and what your teachers are allowing in the classroom. And all of these things are influencing our like young minds that aren't fully developed yet. So if I get to have a platform, if I get to have a space to use my voice to encourage and impact the next generation, I sure as heck hope to use it. You know, I would love to be able to pour into these people and to pour into these children, to be able to give them a future and a hope found in Jesus.
So it's awesome that you're doing this in person with a lot of people, but you from what I see, you really want to reach more than that, which I think is why the podcast is so crucial to your mission.
Yeah.
Because you are able to replace, because the phone, it's not going anywhere.
Right.
We're gonna keep
We're
getting
not going
more-
back in time.
We're not going back in time.
You can't just be like, oh my gosh, they're also glued to their phones. Yeah, of course we're glued to our
Yeah.
phones because they're also in our future. They're not going away.
Right. So what can you do
Yes.
to replace some of that screen time with some screen time that actually is benefiting them? So you were going to shoot this podcast.
Yes.
You mentioned it at TLT, and I was like, oh, can I help with that?
Yes.
And so yesterday we went and we shot a bunch of episodes.
Content.
Yes, in a very professional studio.
Mm-hmm.
I got to meet your mom, and that was very, very fun, educational. It was a blast.
Yeah.
Can't wait to do it again.
Yeah.
We are going to link her podcast down below.
Oh.
If you want to, I would highly recommend.
Yeah, not
That-
if you want to. We're going to link it down below.
You better check it out.
Check it out or else. Just kidding.
No, but
Kind of.
we... I mean, ideally, this podcast thing would be something that you'd want to do for a career.
Yes,
Yeah?
I because I think in-person connection is so valued and so needed. I think missions and going overseas and going to other states and going to other churches and all of these things to serve is very helpful. I'm all on board for it. And I know that like social media could quite literally be the way to reach the most amount of people in the most effective way, shortest amount of time. Like it gets the message to millions, billions, as many people as you want, as it can reach. If you like promote it properly, it can reach the world. So I get that social media has its negative effects on people, but I don't take that stance that social media is rotting these kids' brains. Like, well, sure, but what are you doing to help? Like, I don't want to just be a person of problem. I want to be a person of solution. Like, if they're going to have these devices in their hands, which we will, like we talked about, what is my role? What can I do rather than just saying everything is fire and brimstone and everything's going to shambles? Right. How can I be part of the solution? And that's putting out content to point people to Jesus, to get that in their hands so that they're hearing a message different from what they might be hearing from culture that tells them it's all about me. I'm the center of attention. I'm the best. Let me make myself a modern day idol to be worshiped. It's wrong. Right. Jesus is to be worshiped, and we literally have a voice to be able to put it out there to share with these kids. Don't make yourself the center of attention, because I'm telling you, it will leave you feeling empty and void of purpose. But if you put the Lord first, if you seek him first, then like put your eyes on Jesus and everything else will follow. He will give you the desires of your heart, and that's not your own desires, but that's his desires for you. And he'll give you what to be passionate about because it's his plan ultimately. So these are the messages that I think if kids can switch their perspective from it's all about me to it's all about others, there's purpose. There's so much value in that to really be part of the change to change the world.
Wow. Very well put. I think a lot of people, they play victim to the feed.
So good.
And they blame the algorithm for their addiction or maybe for the content that's being shown to them. But the algorithm is kind of a reflection of what you're interested in.
That's so true.
Keeps your attention. So you got to kind of be mindful when scrolling. If you're watching stuff that is not benefiting you, that's not healthy, that's wasting time, that is rotting your brain, to purposely kind of block that stuff and tune in to content that will develop an algorithm to support you other than hold you down.
I'm so glad. Can I talk on that for a second here?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because before I was a Christian, my Instagram was all about like fitness and girls in bikinis and then, okay, chill, on this side and the other, and like just so much stuff, like the next party, the next, like just so many things that were causing me to feel either FOMO or discouraged or like I'm not good enough or I need to be better or caught up in the comparison trap. Like every emotion was, or even just like compromising my morals and my values for what I posted. I've been on a journey with my social media for sure, but compromising my morals because it was like, well, how can you even keep up? Like, how can you compete? If you want your profile to grow, you have to keep up. Like, this is what people are doing. This is what gets traction.
A South Florida gal on the beach.
Exactly. And you'll get the views. Sure. And that's all good and great and all. Not really, but you know. And I had to feel like in order to have worth and value, I had to like lower my standards to compete. And even that thought of compete, like why is my mind in this state of, oh, I'm competing? Like these are my brothers and sisters, like specifically for me, like these are my sisters. Like, why am I competing with them? Let them be beautiful and do what they do. Like I'll be that voice of correction in them if they come to me and they want like help or guidance. But I wasn't there at the time. Like at the time, it was only competition mindset. Like, oh, they're beautiful. If they're beautiful, that means I'm not. And I had to keep up with them. And it was just so all consuming in my thoughts. So that was my feed. That was what I was taking in, the garbage I was taking in and influencing my life. But as I became a Christian, I just started to love seeing wholesome photos. I loved seeing families. I loved seeing like just the moms and their kids. And I loved hearing these captions that were all about like God and his plans for you and purpose and just so many things. Bible verses would show up on my feeds, just different things in the algorithm started to show up because that's what I was interacting with. I would interact with Christian things and eventually everything else started to drown out. Like now I don't have all that junk on my Instagram because the algorithm switched it to what it knows I'd interact with and what it knows I would hide. Like if it was giving me information I didn't want to see or I wasn't liking, it wouldn't show me anymore.
Right.
And so now Instagram isn't a struggle for me. It isn't a problem for me at all because I get to use that platform to do what I want to do, which is to share Jesus and not have it also bring me down and deteriorating my mental health.
Awesome.
Does that make sense?
Yes,
Great.
absolutely. So I don't have any social media.
Good job.
Yeah. I deleted it all because I was really feeling like it just wasn't benefiting me or my business. A lot of people say, oh, I need it for business. And me being a videographer, content creator, you would think I would need it.
Yeah, I was very surprised when you told me you didn't have social media. I was like, what?
You'd be shocked how many people, it's like, as long as you make good stuff, as long as your fruit is good, they don't really care to see a back catalog. And I have one on my site. So it's like, I don't really need that stuff. But I do, ever since Elon bought Twitter,
Okay.
I check in every once in a while.
All right. Every now and again. You check in because kind of show face.
Yeah, it's interesting. So I've got like an account that I post like Jesus stuff on. Like I'll post like Bible verse and stuff. I'm not trying to grow it. I don't even have like 20 followers. Like it's not, my face isn't
So
anywhere on it.
You're just like there. No one don't even know.
Right. But I do find myself, my algorithm is definitely like cars, money, clothing. You got to be strong. You got to be a strong man. You got to be like fit, attractive, handsome, and rich, and all these things to attract a girl. And like that's like my feed. And I find myself when I'm scrolling through this before I delete the app promptly, I find myself going like, oh man, yeah, I definitely,
I'm gonna get after it.
Yeah, I gotta go grind this. I gotta go get my Porsche.
And then you start to like take Bible verses, maybe even like, oh, like maybe God could be in that because then I could get the nice car and drive people to church. It's a great thing. It's like, wait, how am I justifying my thoughts right now?
I know. And then I'll put that down and read the word, and instantly I'm like, wait, these things don't matter.
Yeah.
Like, what was I doing? So I'll go and delete the app again, and I won't get on it for like a month, and then like a month will pass by. I'm like, I wonder what's going on.
Hop back on, and then you let it get to your mind again.
Yes, it's addicting, and it really is. It's tough because it does play into the spirit of man a lot.
Right.
And as we know, when we accept Jesus and we gain the Holy Spirit, it doesn't erase the spirit of man that's already there.
Yeah.
It parts with it. So we get to choose day by day, hour by hour, which one we're going to feed, which one we're going to allow control us.
Yep.
And just because we have the Holy Spirit doesn't mean that our human desires are gone.
It's true.
Right. And so we really have to exercise that Holy Spirit and hustle and feed that spirit more than we're feeding the spirit of man.
Yes. And even with that, it's like everything you listen to, everything you watch, every conversation you're taking part of, like that starts to either feed your spirit or your flesh. And this isn't necessarily like a Bible quote, Bible verse, but I just remembered even being young, I was a kid, and I saw this saying, and it said, there's two wolves that live inside of you. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, absolutely.
And there's two wolves that live inside of you. And then, I don't know, it's like fighting to like win the battle inside of you. I don't know, something. Maybe I don't remember that much. I was a kid,
it's
okay?
Like,
Bear with
it's
me.
like a white and black.
Yeah, white and black. There's wolves. They're in you, whatever. Something's happening with wolves. And then like the kid asked like, oh, okay, well, which one wins? Like, which one's going to like win the battle in you? And I guess it was like, I don't know, the wise grandpa or something. There's always that like wise older person. I love old people because they're so wise. But anyways, the wise person was like, whichever one you feed it, like the wolf that you feed is the one that will win and get stronger.
Right.
And we really have that choice, the free will, if you call it, the free will to choose, do we want to serve God or do we want to serve ourselves or the enemy? And every day you make that choice of, what am I going to sow into? Am I sowing into just making life about me? Am I sowing into gossip and slander and unforgiveness? All of these things, which are things of the flesh. Or am
that hurt us.
That hurt us.
Yeah.
It's not God saying don't do these things because he's being a mean dictator. He loves us and he knows what's good. So if he's telling us no to something, he's disciplining us because a good parent disciplines their kids. And it's never to be out to get us. It's never to assert his authority over us. He'll tell us no to those things that we want because he recognizes it feeds our flesh and not our spirit and will ultimately hurt us.
So what's that look like to feed your flesh? I mean, I feel like that phrase might be kind of daunting.
Christianese.
Well, it's like, what does that actually look like practically? To me, I think it's more like kind of what you said as far as what your eyeballs are laying upon.
Yes.
What your ears are homing, what you're choosing to participate in. That's what feeds it, as opposed to like actually eating something.
True.
You know,
Right.
and that's a part of it too, but
Yeah, no, I get what you're asking. I think that my first thing goes to your community, like who you're surrounded by, the influences around you, even help with like, I guess I don't want to call it feeding the flesh then because I do think it sounds like it's sometimes in Christian cultures, you like get lingo going on and like people that are Christian know what you're talking about, but it's basically giving into a desire that's like self-seeking. It's giving into making yourself great basically and not having God be God and not giving your focus and your attention to God. So you're feeding, you're putting things into your mind, into your, so weird. Now I'm like, how do I not talk about it in a Christian way? But it's basically taking things in to put yourself up on the pedestal.
right.
And all about me is probably best way to describe feeding your flesh, making everything work out for you and not about others and definitely not about God.
And the downfall of that is at first it feels really good.
I could talk about this for so long.
Yes. And let's talk about it because at first it feels amazing and you feel so powerful, or maybe it's kind of like when you, I don't know, like I've never done hard drugs, but I'd imagine when you try a hard drug for the first time, you want to keep doing it because it felt so good. But then over time,
It's like enticing. It's there.
yes,
right.
but over time, as you keep doing it, you need more of it and you're getting less of satisfaction until the point where it's not satisfactory at all. And you just feel like garbage. Whereas on the flip side, if you are pouring into other people, helping them, it is really amazing to see how it comes back to you.
Yes.
And how it, even when you're doing it, without anything coming back to you, you feel good. Like it feels really good to give a gift or an encouraging word.
Yes. You know, that makes me think even like, for God so loved the world that he gave his only son. Like God's definition, his description of love was to give. And so we take it like, it's all about me, who can serve me, and when they serve me, cut them loose. And what's the next best thing? How can I be great? And Jesus's message is the exact opposite, where he says, if you want to love your neighbor, like if you want to love your neighbor as yourself, like love other people, serve people around you, honor one another above yourself. Like his message is so like exact opposite of what we think. And we say it's about me, serve me. And he says, no, it's not about you. Actually, it's about others and serving God. And so I just think like even with the community that you surround yourself with, like they're influencing you. We're constantly being influenced. I used to hear that saying, like, plant the seed in people. Like, you don't have to water it. Like, just plant the seed and God will water it or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of felt like that rubbed me a little bit the wrong way for a minute in the beginning, because I was like, plant the seed, like, make suggestions to people. It's like, I don't know. I kind of didn't love that idea of planting a seed in someone, because I was like, let them come to their own conclusions. Like, if they want to follow God, they'll follow God. If they don't. Like, kind of not let people be happy, but something about planting the seed made me feel this uneasiness.
Like, who am I to...
Like, why am I giving them suggestions to change their life? Like, if they want to, like, they know what to do. They can Google. It's on them. Our lives are our own, really. It's their choice.
Mm-hmm.
But I had this revelation moment where I was like, people are planting seeds in people every single day. Like, if it's not going to be me, it's going to be somebody. Like, everything we do is a matter of suggestion of, you should download this, you should wear this. I like that top on you. Oh, okay, they affirmed the top. If they like it, we're going to keep doing what's celebrated. And then whatever is celebrated will be normalized. And so you keep getting like this approval, this affirmation, and all of a sudden that's going to be what's continued in. They're going to continue to do whatever is getting praise from other people. So if other people get to plant seeds, I should be planting seeds for God, for the kingdom, for those purposes of looking at life a different way than modern day culture shows it.
That's a really, really good point, because something that's been said in our church this past couple of weeks is you may be the only experience of Christ that somebody ever really has.
It's true.
It's like Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and Trysten.
Literally.
Like
you their stories might as well be in the Bible. Like mine's a testimony. Like it's all points to Jesus.
And so if you're saying one thing and doing another, or your fruit isn't aligning with what you're saying your values are, people see that.
Oh, absolutely.
And unbelievers will use that as, oh, I cannot tell you the amount of times that someone goes, yeah, I mean, I don't know so much about Jesus, but the hypocrisy of these guys.
I was just about to touch on like, oh, so the hypocrisy of the church. Yes, I get it.
To step away from the Christianity aspect of it, even TLT, if we are trying to mentor these kids and we're not trying to mentor ourselves or trying to hold ourselves to a level of maturity,
higher approach, living above reproach.
Yes. Then how could we ever mentor these kids properly?
Right.
If we're not trying our absolute best in our own lives to uphold the values that we're trying to teach them.
Right. And there's this study, in high school, we read this study. It was like the Bandura study. And it talked basically about how kids, just for overview of the story, kids mimic what they see. So if you're an adult, and in the context of the study, it was like a Bobo doll. It was like a doll. And if an adult like punched the doll, then the kids would punch the doll because that's what they were seeing. If they were gentle with the doll and like held it or whatever, the kid would mimic holding the doll and being gentle with it. So it would have been different if they just said, oh, don't do that. Kids don't learn simply just from our words. Basically, the point is they learn from action. They're watching you. They're watching the way you live your life. It's not just merely follow Jesus and like do the right thing. Oh, but do as I say, not as I do. I just don't agree with that quote.
That phrase doesn't work
at all.
Yeah.
Like, I think if you're not doing what you're preaching, why am I going to listen to you? Like, you're not proving that you can even set an example for me to look up to. And so just saying merely, oh, do as I say, not as I do, literally is the most discrediting statement from the person who's saying that, because it just makes me feel like they're hypocrites. Like, they'll tell me information, but they won't have the courage and the self-discipline to really live what they're vouching for. And I think that as a mentor of TLT, these kids are looking up to you and they're looking at you. They're watching what you're saying and what you're doing and seeing that it's aligning. And I get to have these conversations with them, like, what do you value? What's one of the biggest priorities in your life? And it's like, oh, my biggest priority is to make it big on Instagram, let's just say, or my biggest priority is to be an influencer. Great. And it's like, okay, challenge that. Like, what are you influencing? Are you wanting to influence God and good things and putting good out there? Or are you wanting to influence yourself and just be like worshiped by other people to think you're great? And so let's say this is honestly a run through conversation that I have with one of these girls. So this is real life, technically. We're having this conversation, and all of a sudden they're going to go to my Instagram and they're going to see, oh, she's telling me to be putting good out there on Instagram. She's telling me to be using a platform for a bigger purpose than myself. What is she doing with her platform?
Right.
And then they get to look at my platform and see I'm doing what I'm telling them is good. Like, I'm not just promoting myself and then telling them something different than what I'm doing. They get to see it firsthand from someone who has credibility because they're actually practicing what they preach.
And I love what you said about how you might feel maybe weird about planting seeds or influencing other people, but if you don't do it, somebody else will. And so I can't tell you the amount of mentors I've had in my life that have really been walking the walk and have told me straight to my face, straight up, hey, you're doing this wrong. Like,
oh, yes.
Like, this isn't right. Those moments changed the course of my life forever. I know when I was 16, I was all into Jesus, but, I was sleeping with my girlfriend.
Okay, right. So like half in, half out.
Half in, half out. Like, I love God, right? But I want to also I want to also party too, right?
Right.
You know, I went to TLT, Dr. Jeff. He was a little bit more harsh back then.
Oh, he's toned it down a little bit.
Oh, he's toned it down a lot. But he told me, he's like, you're living wrong. You know, this is like
Just like
just
cutthroat,
right to my
straight for the
face.
jugular.
Oh yeah, to the point where I like didn't like him. I was like,
Of course.
like,
No
who's-
one wants to be called out.
who's this guy?
Yeah.
Then I really meditate on it. I think about it, and it was that moment that really split my life in half to make a decision to choose between continuing or going down a different road.
Yes.
And I chose, I'm going down a different path. So I broke up with her. She blamed it on TLT and all this stuff because it's kind of true. But I'm so happy to have that type of influence in my life. And
Right.
how many times do we hold our tongues because we don't want to offend them
It's so true.
or we don't want to hurt them? And then we don't hold our tongues and they do get offended and they do maybe dislike us
Yep.
for a season. I know I didn't like Dr. Jeff for a whole year. A whole year.
A whole year. Were you like resentful towards him for saying that?
Totally. I was like, who is this guy? And then I see how he lives.
Wait, so how are you so close now? What changed? How did you come? Because you were offended at first. And I feel like
100%.
as mentors, like maybe there will be information like, oh, you're living wrong. There will be those things of correction or like a hard word, but it's just truth. Because sometimes truth is great and all, but truth can also sometimes hurt.
Truth hurts.
And so how did you reconcile that he was telling you the truth, but it hurt you and now you're close again? What happened there?
Because I saw the way he lives. I saw the marriage he has, the community he has fostered, the beyond reproach, remaining blameless mentality where I've lived here in this house. We're in the Hazim house as we speak. I've lived here in this house for months at a time. And I see him waking up at 4 or 5 a.m. every day and reading the word.
That's inspiring
For-
and convicting
for
for
like
myself.
6-7 hours a day.
6 hours in the morning?
Yes.
Bro.
And then he is done by like noon and he's out doing other stuff while everybody's just getting up around like 10 or something. And I'm like,
Right.
I'm seeing the fruit
Wow.
of what living God-honored life is like. I'm like, man, I want that.
It wasn't just him telling you, oh, Danny, read your Bible in the morning. No,
Right.
that wouldn't have been enough. I really don't believe.
Right.
I think it could be encouraging. Like even listening to this, like I hope it is encouraging. And then eventually like you're following along, you sing our journey. Maybe you're listening to this and you're like, I want to join TLT. I like what they have to say. I like the impact they could have in my life. So you join TLT and you come for that. But eventually you'll see that these conversations is genuinely how we'll live our life. Like Jeff wasn't telling you something that he wasn't actually living and you were watching and letting that change your life, but it was in the relationship.
100%. It's kind of like when somebody beats a world record, like let's say they run the fastest mile. The previous one was like 20 years ago. Almost every time, within about a month or two, people will beat that one. Just because they saw it being done and they said, it's possible.
It's possible.
Yes.
That's so good.
And so Dr. Jeff, he also inspired me in one aspect where he doesn't eat any refined sugars.
Right.
And he hasn't for decades. And I go, and he says this thing where he hasn't had a soda since he was 16. When I was 17, 16, around that age, where I was warming back up, I heard him say that and I said, I want to be able to say that.
Right.
So I stopped. I haven't had a Coke or Dr. Pepper or anything since.
Wow.
Because I saw it was possible.
You saw it was possible.
Yes.
He said it, but he also lived it. And so you're like,
Right.
okay, I like that. I think that's good. I see that not only is it his opinion, but one definitely wait to the Bible where it's take care of your body.
100%.
And then it's also like you're seeing the way that he lives his life with that decision that you were inspired by it to be like, oh, he does it. It's possible. It's better for my body. It has validity scientifically that sugar is bad for you.
Right.
So I'm going to not do it anymore.
Absolutely. Okay, one more example. Even my pops, my father, he was in excruciating amount of pain for my entire life. He was in a wheelchair. He got into a really bad car accident. I saw and helped him throughout all of this, helped do treatments on him, had to, in some ways, mature early
Okay, like to take care of him.
Yeah.
Okay.
And because my mom would have to work 2 jobs, and my dad was home, but he was like on meds and stuff in middle school and like unable to really function. And there was moments where he never said anything to us, but I found out years later that he wanted to die. He was like, this is brutal. But he's a strong man, and he stuck through it and persevered so long with the belief that one day some technology, something will come out that will be able to heal him.
Yeah.
And he had that faith and that belief and that perseverance where it actually became true.
Right.
And so he's now able to not only walk, but he's pain-free. He's able to ski. He's able to bike. He's able to do
Amazing.
all this stuff that
There was hope. He had hope in his heart.
Yes. And seeing that, I've never had any pain. Even I've broken my neck. I've broken my legs. I've broken my arms. I've broken my ribs. I've broken a lot of stuff. I've never come close to the amount of pain that he would feel in a day.
Right.
And so whenever I am down bad, to use the kids' slang.
Down bad?
No. Whenever I'm down bad, it's like I just can't help but to think of him and be like, look, like if he persevered through all of that, I can persevere through this tiny thing of being slightly sad in the moment.
Right. Of like the truth. You mean
Yes.
from when like Dr. Jeff would convict you or anything in your life, really. If there's any
Anything.
hardship you're going
Yes,
through.
my wife leaving me, my papa passing
the wife
away.
is back.
I have to just slip it into every comment. No,
Like, Danny, do you want to talk about it? Like, for real? Just kidding.
I'll talk about it on your podcast.
Oh, gosh. Okay. Sounds good.
Go check it out.
Go check out
The Fill My Cup podcast with Trysten, Tice.
and Danny behind the scenes. This is
Yes,
a joke.
I'm the producer. But no, I will be on an episode of your show. You've already said.
Yes.
I'm not inviting myself.
Invite yourself.
And we'll get into some of that if it would intrigue you.
Yes, but for like even that, like all jokes aside, like that was a hardship that you went through, but there's such a hope that could be found. Like your pop's going through what he went through. Like he had hope. Like everyone goes through hard things, but there is such a hope for your life. One, especially in Jesus when you turn to him.
That was it.
But yeah, like
100%.
honestly, there's not even a 2. Like just one. Just put your hope in
like
Jesus.
for real. It was the hope and faith in Jesus that got me through it all.
Yes.
Everything.
But what I love about Jesus, let me tell you this. What I love about Jesus is that, yes, that is only one. Like, put your hope in Jesus. But he's so good that just him dying on the cross, done. Good enough. Perfect. Great. Thank you. But he continues to give us good gifts. And that's where I think there's the practicality of not just saying, oh, hope in Jesus and everything will be okay. He gives you community. He gives you resources. He uses the body of Christ. He gives you the church. He gives you mentors. He gives you opportunities to be able to press into him, to know him deeper, to not just have this like, oh, just trust in Jesus and everything's okay. Because the reality is that there's a way to trust in Jesus, but also have practical things here on earth to point you to him. And there's resources. So TLT especially like gives you an option and an opportunity to have a mentor, someone who can help you to find that hope for your life.
Wow. You saying that just kind of sent me down a mental rabbit trail that I've never gone down.
Oh.
And obviously our audience knows how we feel about Jesus and how he's our Lord.
We love that man.
We love him,
We
right?
really love him.
We believe he died for our sins, all this stuff. But you might be listening to this show. You might be thinking to yourself, I don't believe in Jesus that way. He was just a man, right? If you believe he's just a man, you got to at least recognize that in 33 years of him being alive and not really becoming rich or having power on earth, he has the most influence out of anybody
Danny,
that's ever
why are we
lived
still
possible.
talking about this man 2,000 years later? Like,
okay, just 2023.
Yeah, you're right.
What does that date mean?
I don't know. What does it mean?
2023 years since Christ died.
Oh,
He's influenced
Tell
time.
us what it means.
He's influenced time. He's influenced everything you just said, the community, the everything. Even if he was just a man, he's the most successful movement.
And he's why we
that's
are
ever
who
been.
we are. Like,
Yes.
he's the most successful movement. Like, people can't
Are
even
you
make
kidding
that big of an influence and impact in way more years than 33. And he actually only did it in like kind of like 3.
Yeah, kind of 3 years.
Like 3 years
that
was
was
his main, thing of his
Are
ministry.
you kidding me?
No. It doesn't work for me. I disagree. And he did miracles. So clearly there's something happening with this just a man. But
clearly.
anyways,
No.
clearly.
I don't look. I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, if you're like, I don't know about this guy, come on, you have to be able to see at least that.
Yeah. Something is worth investigating about this man named Jesus, who everyone seems to have some radical life change. Also real quick. How is it that all of these people have these radical life changes when it comes to Jesus? Like supernatural stories. Like my mom kicking me out of the house for being a Christian and then having a vision whole situation happen, which is another story, where she's now all in for her faith. For what? Just some man? That doesn't make sense. There is something different about who he was.
Oh, 100%.
So not to plant the seed here of knowing Jesus, but at least he's worth looking into.
100%.
That's my hot take.
That is a hot take. Wow. So controversial.
Yes. Very
Look into
steamy.
Jesus. Oh my
Yes.
goodness. No, that's good. We should have your mom on your show.
Oh my gosh, you're so right.
That'd be a good episode.
Maybe, give the people what they want to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So are we shooting again next week or what?
I think so. I got to talk about sponsorships because that's a separate situation happening.
Yeah, maybe if someone in our audience wants to sponsor her show, we can maybe.
Is this about TLT or Fill My Cup? Both.
A little bit of both. No.
Just kidding, but for real, like even putting content out like this, like it's expensive. Putting content out like Fill My Cup, like to talk about Christian conversations, it's expensive. Like you have to have money to make money, also to make a living from it, to keep it going. But this is the stuff like we want to talk about. We want to add value to your life, and to, if you're a parent, we want to add it to your kid's life. If you're a kid, we want to add it to your life and the parent's life. We want to add value to all the people, honestly, that can listen to this and feel like there is some sort of a hope for them, or a way for them to grow, a way for them to change and just make better decisions for their life. So you can start literally today, like tomorrow's leaders today. You can start today. You can start today for real to make those decisions that will change your future.
Wow. I can't think of a better way to end the episode than that.
So we love you guys. Should we end with, but thank you.
Yeah.
It's true. I mean every word of it.
Awesome. Well, hey, if you want to check out a little bit more about Trysten Tice, if you want to see her Instagram and all of the non-beach pictures.
Yes, you will find wholesome content.
If you want some wholesome content, go check out the gram.
Yes,
go
like,
check
comment,
out the
subscribe.
podcast.
But for real.
Yeah, for real though, go check out the new podcast. It was very good, very authentic and fun. And if you're looking for some good content to immerse yourself with, to influence you in a positive direction in life, Trysten's out here doing the work to make it happen. So
thank you, Danny. Yes.
Thank you for all you do for TLT, for
thank
the kingdom.
Thank you for what TLT has even done for me, but for everyone else too.
That's good.
Yeah, for real.
All right, well, I want to keep talking, but we are going to end it here.
Okay,
right?
ending it here. Bye, guys. Thank you so much for listening.
Peace.
Generation.